Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of Harry Fling Wrestling. I am your host, Harry Fling, and today's topic of the day is a rewriting episode. And no, it's not WrestleMania, but the Survivor Series. I've always called Survivor Series the World Series of Wrestling, just by the sheer name of the series that they share. And they also share the fact that they have to do with teams. Team elimination in the case of Survivor Series. Now, any sport, like also football, basketball notwithstanding, has to do with teams, but because we have the World Series in the fall, and then the Survivor Series is the fall classic for WWE, has been for the last almost 40 years, I want to say. So that's the reason I decided to compare the two, the World Series and the Survivor Series. And this year, this is the 6th annual Survivor Series from 1992, emanating from the Richfield Coliseum in Richfield, Ohio. I believe Survivor Series 87 and 88, the first two also emanated from the Richfield Coliseum. This year, it strayed away from tradition, because there was almost no Survivor Series elimination matches to speak of, no traditional elimination matches on the card. They had one, which was having to do with tag teams. You had two teams with 4 wrestlers each. 4-on-4 match, but there were tag teams paired up. It was the Nasty Boys and the Natural Disasters taking on Money Incorporated and the Beverly Brothers. Pardon me. But in that match, it was whoever got pinned, their team got eliminated. Like if a Beverly brother got eliminated, then his partner would. Same with the Natural Disasters and the other teams. Every other match was pretty much singles or regular tag team match. I think they wanted to try something new that year. It was never explicitly stated why they strayed away after 1991. Maybe some people got bored with that style of match, and to tell you the truth, I never did. I didn't start watching wrestling till 95, but even then there were still some traditional Survivor Series matches on the card, even with a few singles matches sprinkled in. But I love a whole entire card from like 87 to 90. It was all Survivor Series elimination matches, 5-on-5 and later 4-on-4. I like the 4-on-4 format better. My favorite was 1990, not because The Undertaker debuted, and that was great in of itself as a standalone moment, but the fact that they had 5 4-on-4 elimination matches, and the winners / sole survivors of those matches got to come back and compete later on in the night in a grand finale match of survival, the heels versus the faces, in other words. I remember in that match you had Hulk Hogan, Ultimate Warrior, and Tito Santana taking on Ted DiBiase, Rick Martel, Hercules, Paul Roma, and the Warlord. And of course the babyface team survived. It was Hogan and Warrior, predictably. But if they'd done more of that, that would have actually, made it feel like, we're watching like the Olympic Games or something. I don't know, some big turkey trot event. In any case, Survivor Series really has lost its namesake over the years, lost its meaning. You're very lucky if you can even get one elimination match on the card, and that's been that way since like the last 2 decades. And now they've incorporated war games, and to be honest, I'm not the biggest war games fan. I find the concept so convoluted, and this is probably because I wasn't a diehard WCW fan growing up. I knew what it was, and I know how the match concept works. But it just seems like it takes forever to get the match started. And then when it finally does, there's not much time for those coming in late into the match. And I just don't like the direction that WWE's going with this. Keep their own tradition. Don't steal what other people have. I love the Elimination Chamber. I love Hell in a Cell. I love our ladder matches. But basically, don't get rid of something that was already working. And really, if people didn't like it, obviously they didn't have to watch it. But anyways, I don't want to waste any more time complaining about that. So I'm going to run down the matches in chronological order that I think should have happened at Survivor Series 92. So there'll be 5 4-on-4 elimination matches. I wasn't planning on doing a grand finale match of survival, but we can talk about that in a little bit later on once I've gotten through these matches. So the first match I'd have for the evening would be one team captained by Crush and his compadres, consisting of El Matador, Tito Santana, Owen Hart, and Coco Beware. Now, Owen and Coco were known as High Energy at the time. I guess Jim Neidhart must have been either left or got fired from WWF. Therefore, the new foundation didn't last too long. So Owen needed a new partner, and Coco Beware joined in. The baggy pants and the bright colors and everything. Their opposition is a team captained by the Repo Man and his teammates, the Berserker, and the Head Shrinkers, Samu and Fatu. This would be kind of an oddball lower card mishmash. I'd have Crush come out as the sole survivor of this one. Crush and Repo Man had a match at SummerSlam 92. It was a very low-key, lower card match. Not much importance going into it. But the only significance, if you're a fan outside of kayfabe, is that it's Barry Darsow taking on Bryan Adams, the former Smash and Crush of Demolition, the later iteration after Axe left. So it was a battle of Demolition at SummerSlam 92, but Demolition had already been long since gone from the company. At least the gimmick had already ended by that point in time, or before that. And then you have, Tito Santana's kind of nice backup. Owen and Coco would have actually had a match that night in real life, in real time against Samu and Fatu. They lost to the Head Shrinkers. High Energy did. So, yeah, that one wouldn't take too much time. Everybody would kind of blend in well. Matador and Berserker, no rivalry, but they're good hands. The next match I'd have would be an all-American team, except the last two here from New Zealand. Hacksaw Jim Duggan, team captain, along with Bob Backlund, teaming up with Luke and Butch of the Bushwhackers. Now, Bushwhackers, they're not, they are from New Zealand, so they're not Americans, nationality-wise. But they could be, they're baby faces that would support Jim Duggan in any battle. I think, they've been in 6-man tag matches together, those three. They got Bob Backlund, who just returned to the company. I think he was like 42, 43 years old. Coming into the new generation, they were pushing guys like 20 years younger than him. He was just a smiling geek baby face, always so happy-go-lucky, running down to the ring. Hi guys, okay, ready for a good match. Hadn't been seen since 1983. Their opposition is team captain Bam Bam Bigelow, along with Papa Shango, Skinner, and Damien Demento. Damien Demento was a very psychotic character, a bald guy with a single ponytail hanging from the back. He's from the outer reaches of your mind. Everything he says and does is very methodical. He's just another scary dude on the roster. He likes to paint images of massacres and destruction, He's not all up there. He's not all right in the head, let's just say. Skinner was the alligator man from the Florida Everglades. It's Steve Kern, as you know. Papa Shango, my man, Charles Wright. Kama Mustafa, Godfather, Goodfather, whatever you want to call him. And of course, Bam Bam Bigelow had just returned to the company since 1988. So this is just a bunch of tough guys on one team. I would have the sole survivors. The sole survivor means one, so I got to correct myself there. The survivors, in this case, there'll be three. Bigelow, Shango, and Demento. Skinner would be the only one eliminated. Yeah, Duggan, his whole gimmick had probably run its course by this point in time, so he doesn't really have a whole lot of steam going into it, other than being the most popular of the four. Backlund, just wait a couple more years till he turns heel, and then you'll really see something from him. And Luke and Butch are just two other good hands to have on the team. That's all I can say. The next match in chronological order, this is going to be an interesting bout. Team captain The Undertaker, along with his comrades, British Bulldog, Virgil, and the Big Boss Man, taking on team captain Kamala, alongside with Nails, the Mountie, and the debuting Yokozuna. We've got kind of a resounding theme here, folks. Bob Backlund, Bam Bam Bigelow, Damien Demento, the Head Shrinkers, and now Yokozuna. All these guys have recently or will be making their debut on the main roster in late 1992 in World Wrestling Federation. Yokozuna, of course, will go on to win the Rumble the next month. In real time, he took on Virgil and squashed him like a bug, just like that. Bossman and Nails had a nightstick on a pole match. Undertaker and Kamala had a casket match. So a lot of singles matches I'm meshing into one big conglomerate. Bulldog and Mountie were supposed to have a match that night, and Bulldog was supposed to be Intercontinental Champion walking in, but Shawn beat him for the belt on the last Saturday night's main event in a great match. Bulldog had been let go by the company. There was the whole steroid trial was acting up here, was really in full swing, the steroid trial, until 94. And Bulldog had to be let go, not only because his own drug abuse, substance abuse problems, but he looked like the type of guy that would be a big steroid user, and WWF wanted to rid the federation of guys that looked like him or Hulk Hogan, really big and bulky. A lot of beefcake there. It was just to protect their own image, in addition to Bulldog's personal demons. Also, the Mountie, I think, had just left the company at that point in time, but I'd have him stick around for at least one more match so he could be part of this team. So Bulldog and Mountie were supposed to have a battle for the IC belt, and of course that didn't happen, so that match was dropped altogether. So basically I'd have Yokozuna be the sole survivor here. Bossman and Nails will probably have a double disqualification or double count out and have their nightstick on a pole match at the Royal Rumble. Assuming Nails doesn't attack Vince McMahon before then. We all know that story. Undertaker and Kamala, that's probably another match that could have waited to the Rumble, though you'd have to pull Undertaker out of the Rumble, which he was in that year. Who else? Bulldog Mountie, don't need to have them battle another time. Same with Virgil Yokozuna. This just would have demonstrated Yokozuna's dominance going forward. So that's why I'd have Yoko win this match. I'd have like Undertaker, Kamala. So yeah, like Kamala being a team captain's an interesting choice because he wasn't a good talker. He was just this monster from Uganda. Couldn't communicate other than making some strange noises. So Harvey Whippleman and Kim Chi, mainly Harvey Whippleman, did the talking for him. So I'd have Harvey Whippleman be the spokesperson for this team, sort of indirectly. And I'm trying to think. Yes, so Kamala would have some involvement in getting Undertaker eliminated. He'd get disqualified, and then Yokozuna would go for the Banzai drop, and that would put Yoko over big, because then he and Taker will have a feud down the road. So, oh my god, this is all coming together so great. I just love it when a plan comes together. So yeah, Yoko survives this match. Sole survivor. Everyone else is out. Okay, the next match would probably be the only repeat I would keep from Survivor Series 92 in real time. This is the tag team bout. We got the babyface tag teams of the Nasty Boys, Brian Knobbs and Jerry Sags, teaming up with the Natural Disasters, Earthquake and Typhoon. Excuse me. And their opposition, the two teams, one being heel teams, one being the Money Incorporated, Ted DiBiase and IRS. They are the current WWF Tag Team Champions with their manager Jimmy Hart. And their partners are the Beverly Brothers, accompanied by the Genius, Bo and Blake Beverly. Now, Bo Beverly's son, it's like Cal Bloom or something, is tried out for WWE. I'm not sure he's still there, but he was at the Performance Center a few years ago. DiBiase and IRS are the tag champs, and I always thought it was a weird pairing that they had Jimmy Hart. I mean, I get it. Hart was like the only heel manager that could take on many clients at the time, because then, Fuji had Berserker, then he dumped in for Yokozuna. And Genius was on his way out, so he didn't last much longer with the Beverly Brothers. He didn't really have any other clients, so this is kind of the only clients left for Jimmy Hart. And then the Mountie was on his way out, and before they ended up turning him face with Hogan and Beefcake. So yeah, DiBiase, IRS, Jimmy Hart, it wasn't the worst pairing, but certainly wasn't the best, but I liked it okay. Hart, he's more of a music guy. Like guys like Honky Tonk Man fit him, even the Hart Foundation, just for the namesake. But this one was a little bit weird, but it worked out. It's just fine. I would keep Hart with Money Inc. So in this match, I would keep it as it is, except I'd get rid of the format of if you get eliminated, so does your partner, because this will be 1-by-1 elimination. The Nasty Boys won that match in real time. They were the survivors, and I'd have Knobbs and Sags be the survivors again in this match. I think it was the Natural Disasters who just lost the tag belts back to Money Inc. in October of 92. It was on Superstars or Wrestling Challenge, or might have been taped for a Coliseum home video release. And so they were kind of out of the tag title picture. And originally they were going to put the Bushwhackers with the Natural Disasters. And then in real time, remember Mean Gene talking about it on the Survivor Series report, Bushwhackers graciously stepped aside so the Nasty Boys could take their place and get revenge on their manager, the Mouth of the South, Jimmy Hart. Nasty Boys were going to be next in line to take the belts and win them back, this time as faces. Because Jimmy Hart, all of 92, promised them they'd get their rematch for the tag belts, but kept pushing them off to the sidelines in favor of Money Inc. Money Inc. were kind of a last-minute formation in February 92 when they needed to get the belts off of LOD due to Hawk's personal demons and some drug problem came up or whatever. So Jimmy Hart just kind of stuck there, and he's always putting Money Inc. above the Nasty Boys, and Nasty Boys took exception to that, and finally in the fall of 92 they turned face, and that's why they're with the Natural Disasters in this match. So go for the Nasty Boys here, folks. And finally we make it to the main event. In real time, we had Bret Hart successfully defend the belt against Shawn Michaels, who was the Intercontinental Champion, but the IC belt wasn't on the line that night. So I would have the main event, Team Captain Bret Hart alongside Macho Man Randy Savage, Mr. Perfect, and Tatanka, taking on Team Captain Ric Flair along with Razor Ramon, Shawn Michaels, and the model Rick Martel. Michaels and Martel had a very rare heel versus heel feud prior to this event, where you didn't see many matches with two heels going at it. It was SummerSlam 92. They were battling over Sensational Sherry. And I would say Sherry could still be in Shawn's corner by this point in time. It was a match where Martel wanted Sherry, as did Michaels, and they kept trying to seduce her at ringside throughout each other's matches, interfering in one another's matches. And the only caveat of that SummerSlam 92 match between Michaels and Martel was that no man could hit each other in the face, not even so much as a slap. So Sherry, that match ended up, I think, with like a double countout, double disqualification, no contest, and Sherry didn't go back with either guy, but somehow ended up back with Shawn. So I think it'd be an all water under the bridge situation for Rick Martel and Shawn Michaels. Martel will say, okay, Sherry's with you, and I can live with that. He'll move on to his feud with Tatanka. In real time, Martel and Tatanka were feuding because Martel stole some sacred eagle feathers that belonged to Tatanka's grandfather and his indigenous tribe. So Tatanka would have gotten those back. I would have had that match happen Saturday night's main event, and then Survivor Series, they're just on opposing teams. Mr. Perfect returned to the ring here after a year-long hiatus, dealing with back injuries. That's why he was Ric Flair's executive consultant. The Ultimate Warrior was originally going to be Savage's partner. It was going to be Savage and Warrior versus Flair and Ramon in real time, but of course Warrior left the company yet again, had another fallout with Vince. Probably something to do with money. I forget the exact circumstances that particular point in time. So, Savage needed a partner. And a week before Survivor Series on Primetime Wrestling, this was the roundtable discussion era, Mr. Perfect decided that he was going to team up with Macho Man. As Macho Man said, I'm looking for the perfect partner, and I see him in this room right over here. Perfect got up. He grabbed Bobby Heenan by his shirt. Heenan, you've been nothing but nasty to me all year. You've been nothing but terrible. And then he takes a pitcher of cold water, and Bobby's like, no, don't do this. I'll buy you a boat. I'll buy you a car. I'll buy you a house. He takes the pitcher of cold water and douses it. Oh! Savage, I'm on your team. We're now the perfect team. I don't think that's exactly what happened verbatim, but I haven't seen that segment in so many years, so forgive me if I got it wrong. But you get the idea. So Perfect is now babyface, and he's active in the ring again. He didn't really wrestle. This is all he wrestled in 92, from November, December, and that was it. And he wrestled in 93. And so Savage, you got him. Bret Hart. Bret and Shawn were set to have just a regular match at Survivor Series, not be the main event, because Bret hadn't even won the belt yet. He won the belt in October of 92 in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, from Ric Flair at a house show taped for Coliseum Home Video. And that match, by the way, is on Smack'em, Whack'em Smack'em, or Smack'em Whack'em. It's a Coliseum Home Video release from 93. I think that match, Bret and Flair is on there from Saskatoon. And that was Bret's first of 5 WWE championships. So Bret ended up defending the belt against Shawn, and Santa Claus came out to celebrate, and it was a nice, warm, touching, heartfelt moment. And Ric Flair, obviously, was going to be the champion going into the match, the tag team match, and that was supposed to be the main event. So a lot got switched around at the last minute here. The booking was a little crazy in fall of 92. So in this match, Bret Hart would be the sole survivor. And I would have Santa come out and have the white snow, which honestly looks like dandruff falling from the sky. Heenan said it best himself. That's the worst case of dandruff I've ever seen. And yeah, that'd be perfect because, Savage, Perfect, and Tatanka don't really need to be in the victory as much. Bret Hart was the star that they were really pushing till Hogan came back, and then we had the whole Lex Luger Made in the USA thing. So the sole survivors this night for the baby faces, you'd have Bret Hart, Brian Knobbs, Jerry Saggs, and Crush. And for the heels, you'd have Yokozuna, Bam Bam Bigelow, Papa Shango, and Damien Demento. So, if you really wanted to and get adventurous, you could have a grand finale, match of survival. I wasn't planning on it in my mind, but maybe you would be after having listening to this. And then who would win that match? Probably Bret Hart. Somehow Yokozuna would get counted out, because you don't want to make Yoko look bad. He's the next big heel star you're building up. So you have to be careful how you're building up these stars. Don't hurt their upward momentum. It's okay if they have to lose a match, but make sure they don't lose it cleanly. And, make sure there has to be a little bit of a convoluted ending just so that they don't look bad going forward. It makes sense when you've been watching the product for as long as I have, and the presentation of how these wrestlers actually look on screen. So and that goes for both the men and the women. There wasn't much of a women's division around this time, so notice they don't have any women's matches on here, and that's just the way things were at that time. And thankfully that's all changed now in this day and age. And yeah, I'll have to rewrite another Survivor Series. Maybe I can get another one in before War Games happens, which is on November the 29th, by the way. It's in San Diego, I believe. So we'll be looking forward to that. This, my friends, has been another great edition of Harry Fling Wrestling. I am your host, Harry Fling, and until next time, everybody, bye-bye.